right now, nearly 4,500 miles away, Matt Baker and the rest of the Wild Alaska Live team are witnessing the world's greatest feast. After months of being frozen, the arrival of summer brings a 4-month rush to feed and breed, attracting eagles, sharks, bears and wolves, all triggered by the annual arrival of Pacific salmon to this vast wilderness. Wild Alaska Live is capturing this incredible spectacle.
And we are here every day this week, bringing you to the wilder places closer to home, right here in the UK. As a wildlife cameraman, I've travelled all over the world, but the wildlife and wild landscapes of these islands hold a special place in my heart and are full of surprising wildlife stories.
As a zoologist, I love getting out and about to the wilder parts of the UK to check out inspirational conservation projects that keep places like this cool bay wild. Over this series, we're travelling from rivers to mountains, from forests to seas, and even celebrating some of our wildest cities to bring you the best our country has to offer.
The UK is a lot wilder than you might think.
This is Wild UK.
Each day this week we'll be looking at a different wilderness in the UK. Now today we're revealing the wildness of the seas that surround our islands. I think we're all fascinated by the sea at some level. I mean, just walk along a seashore like this and you can make all sorts of little discoveries.
That's right, they're tantalising clues, aren't they, to the wonderful wildlife that's hidden in our seas, like out there in the wild Atlantic Ocean.
Our seas and coasts are home to a vast array of wildlife that few of us ever get to witness.
Later in the show, I'm visiting a place dubbed Eagle Island to witness an inspirational wild recovery project. That is just a magnificent beast.
I'm enjoying a jewel of a wilderness off the Northumbrian coast, home to some of our largest nesting colonies of seabirds. I'm sorry, we're just passing through.
And we're joined by some familiar faces sharing their best past experiences of the wildlife that relies on our seas and shorelines and the conservation success stories that have helped them.
The only way I'm going to estimate the size of that beast is to swim next to it.
But first, a snapshot of our seas and our marine habitats in 2017.
As an island nation, the UK is surrounded by the sea. No one living here is ever more than around 70 miles, 110 kilometres from the coast. And with 7,500 miles, 12,000 kilometres of it, there's a lot of coastline to visit. And it's quite some coast. From the vast white sandy beaches of the Hebrides to the dramatic and iconic white cliffs of southern England. The UK is home to 25 species of seabird. They compete for fish alongside 7 species of dolphin. And sometimes even whales. If you take the plunge, a dive can reveal hidden secrets of cold water reefs and wildlife havens on stricken ships. And it's not just wildlife. Our coast attracts millions of holiday makers every year and provides a living for an estimated 12,000 fishermen and women. Whether it's the North Sea, the Irish Sea, the English Channel or the Atlantic Ocean, our waters help define our nation. Of that you can be sure.
I've always loved beachcombing, and this place is proving to be a little treasure trove. And I remember, as a kid, when I found one of these used to be incredibly exciting. This is actually the egg case of some kind of ray. Now, they're known as mermaids' purses. I always thought that was a wonderful name, and if you're ever out wandering along the shore and you find these, it means that the creatures that laid them are not too far away. There are at least 39 species of sharks and rays that are regularly found in UK waters, from small cat sharks to sleek blue sharks, but not all of them lay eggs in cases. Beautiful things, I always thought.
Yeah, that's a magnificent specimen. Of course, the thing about the bigger sharks is that they give birth to live young, so they don't leave evidence like this lying around on the shoreline. If you want to find out about those sharks, you've got to go into the ocean. And that's exactly what the naturalist Mike Dilger did off the island of Mull in 2015.
In the summer months, our western shores are visited by Britain's largest fish, the basking shark. Weighing in at up to 7 tons, they sustain their enormous bulk on a diet of tiny animals, plankton. I've come to the Inner Hebrides to catch up on the latest discoveries of these animals and to try and get close enough to see how big these gentle giants really are. They may be huge, but they're actually remarkably difficult to find. So we've come to Mull, one of the best places to see them, and teamed up with skipper James Fairburns. James, basking shark is a big fish, but they're surprisingly tough to spot.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. They're not like a mammal, like a whale or a dolphin, which needs to come to the surface to breathe. They are only coming up to feed. They're coming up for the plankton. So the chances are it might never come up unless the plankton was there.
And why is this area so good for them?
Well, we think a lot to do with it is these waters are warmed by the Gulf Stream. These nutrients being brought into these waters. Also, the areas where they're being seen are relatively shallow, so these nutrients are being pushed up to where the plankton is blooming. And of course, they're gorging on that plankton.
But plankton are constantly moving around because of the currents in the water. So just knowing where the sharks are most likely to be is no guarantee they'll actually be there. This might be a huge animal, but look around me. It's still effectively a needle in a haystack. But very quickly, shark spotter Andy sees a dark shape in the water.
Shark! Shark right at the lighthouse!
There it is! Oh, I've just seen the dorsal fin and the tail fin together. It almost looks like there's 2 sharks. It isn't, it's just one very large one. And we don't want to lose our chance, so I'm getting kitted up as quickly as I can. I'm suited up, I've got my flippers, snorkel and mask. The only way I'm going to estimate the size of that beast is to swim next to it. What a monster! They might look slow, but they can swim a lot faster than I can, and they appear very quickly out of the murk. It's heading right for me, but this giant shark presents no danger to me. These basking sharks have absolutely enormous mouths, up to 1 meter wide. They can filter the equivalent of an Olympic-sized swimming pool of water through their gill rakers every hour. That translates into about 30 kilograms of zooplankton every day. I'm actually swimming in a living soup of basking shark food. I'm near enough 2 meters tall. From our drone footage, that makes this fish an incredible 7 meters long. These fish can grow up to 12 meters in length. Basking sharks are true giants, and yet despite scientists' best efforts, we still don't know exactly where they go when they disappear from our shores. There's something about seeing an animal coming towards you with a mouth that wide, that's that huge, that weighs 7 tons, that's memorable and awe-inspiring in equal measure. And the mystery that still surrounds these giants only makes them even more extraordinary.
magnificent creatures, and you know, I try and get to swim with them every summer, and you never tire of that great big white mouth coming at you underwater. I know they're benign creatures, but they just feel enormous when you're in that situation. But this is the time for seeing them, not just off Scotland, but summer is when the plankton blooms, and you'll find them off the north coast of Ireland, or the Isle of Man, or the southwest of England.
Now, I know I said earlier that these big sharks leave no trace on our shores, but that's not exactly true, because there was a spectacular exception to that rule earlier this year when a basking shark washed up on the shores of Cornwall. It can be quite sad to see a dead shark, but for scientists this is an unbelievable opportunity for them to learn more about this really poorly understood animal.
And the thing is, when a shark does wash up on shore, they tend to decompose very quickly, so the scientists have to act really fast. Of course, there's no bone in a shark. They're made of cartilage, so the evidence doesn't last long.
No bones at all, not like whales and dolphins, which is a shame because bones can be incredibly useful and tell you so much about the animal. Not just about animals that live now, but about long-lost beasts that once roamed this land. As marine biologist Miranda Kristofnikov discovered as she hit the high seas off the east coast of the UK.
This is the North Sea, 85 miles off the Suffolk coast.
Today I'm on a fishing trip with a difference. We're trawling the seabed about 25 metres beneath this vessel, but it's not fish that we're after. We're hoping to catch something altogether much more extraordinary: mammoth bones.
50,000 years ago, this body of water didn't exist.
Now the Suffolk coastline is in that direction and the Dutch sandy dunes are over there. So beneath me right now was once part of mainland Europe, fertile feeding grounds home to the Ice Age giants.
I've been invited on today's expedition by one of the world's leading mammoth specialists, Dick Moll.
Now often in the movies, woolly mammoths get depicted in a very snowy landscape. Is that what it would have been like here?
No, the Ice Age woolly mammoth was living on a grassland environment. This was like a Serengeti. No elephants, but mammoths. No black rhinos, but woolly rhinos. There were hyenas, lions. It was quite spectacular.
This giant's paradise didn't last forever, though.
Around 11,000 years ago, dramatic changes of climates took place. The ice was melting and the mammoth steppe environment disappeared, and at the same time it causes the extinction of these big animals.
Britain became cut off from mainland Europe, and this once perfect habitat was drowned in what is now the North Sea. The remains of its past inhabitants are still here, though. As the first nets are brought in, the decks are busy with activity. And we strike lucky on the very first trawl.
Oh, look here! Look! Look!
Wow!
Wow! Miranda, look this one. Look, you see?
God, that's amazing.
There's one, and there's a rib.
Wow!
Fantastic! Oh, look to this. This one, oh!
No. That is huge.
So is this exciting or not?
This is absolutely incredible. I expected a few small bits and pieces, but that's absolutely amazing.
Next job is to get the bones out.
You must be absolutely bursting with excitement.
This is very, very exciting. Okay.
Oh my.
Can you put it over there?
Yeah.
Don't drop it.
I won't. I'm not. Oh!
It's not all about size, though.
Look, a very nice heel bone of a female woolly mammoth.
How do you know it's female just by looking at it?
Because it's so small, in a male it will be twice as big.
Okay. Now what have you got?
Look here.
Wow, what is that? That looks amazing.
It's a mammoth molar of a very young individual.
I was going to say, I thought they were really big.
No, this is a young one. This is a milk molar, so to say. It's a upper molar.
So it's like that?
Exactly.
In the tip,
and this here is the grinding service.
Wow.
And it's not just mammoth bones we're finding.
Look at this beautiful specimen. This is woolly rhino.
Okay, but they were around at the same time as the woolly mammoths.
At the same time, they were fellow travelers, so to say. But look, it is damaged here, here, and here. This is eaten by hyenas. And you can see the grooves here. One,
oh
two,
my God,
three,
you
four.
can.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. That's just mind-blowing. That's a little story from the past there, right there in a bone.
Throughout the next few hours, we pull up more and more of these wonderful artefacts.
So are these bones just lying on the bottom of the sea at the moment? Are they not covered with layers and layers of sediment?
No, they are embedded in the sediment, in sand, and these sands were covered by a layer of clay, preserving the bones in this condition. Okay. Here, sand is dredged away from the seabed to deepen the sea so that the big tankers can enter the harbour of Rotterdam. And everything which is heavy, like the mammoth bones, remain on the seafloor. And then we come with our nets and take it. You and me, we are the first one who are seeing these bones. Nobody else has seen them before.
I'm the first person who's ever touched that bone.
Exactly, 40,000 years old.
It's really, really special. All these bones are from around 30 to 40,000 years ago, and they'll be added to the team's collection from the Pleistocene, a period in time often called the last ice age. It's now one of the most complete collections in the world.
The collection isn't normally open to the public, but today the One Show has been given exclusive access.
This is our storage. Looks like a cemetery, but it isn't.
It's incredible. And this is all from the North Sea?
All from the North Sea.
Over the last few years, this full mammoth skeleton has been taking shape.
This is phenomenal. Are these all from one individual then?
No, no, these are bones of many, many different individuals. You need to have thousands and thousands of bones, all remains of animals of the same sex, the same size and the same age.
Okay, so what sex and what age have we got here?
This is a female of about 45 years at time of death.
And tell me, what's it like when you find one of your missing bones?
Oh, that gives you a lot of excitement, because you find a missing part. It's a part of a puzzle. So, yeah, when you find a tiny little tail vertebra, it makes me happy.
Dick hopes this epic jigsaw and all the other Ice Age animal bones will educate people about the importance of the North Sea's vibrant past.
I've now got a real sense of what life was once like on the land that stretched between here and the British Isles.
A place home to an abundance of wildlife, more spectacular than anything we can see today.
Our seas and coastlines are really magical places, but we can't afford to take them for granted. But throughout this series, we're witnessing the extraordinary lengths that some individuals go to conserve our wildlife and our wild places.
One particularly successful conservation project involved Britain's largest bird of prey. In the 19th century in Scotland, the white-tailed sea eagle was a relatively common sight, but by 1918 it had been hunted and persecuted into extinction. However, a reintroduction project began in 1975 on the island of Rum. Neighbouring island, Mull, is now a hotspot for these birds, and just a few weeks ago, Lucy paid them a visit.
Famed for its wild, rugged scenery, the island of Mull is a haven for wildlife. And thanks to an amazing reintroduction project, sea eagles have been nesting here for the last 40 years. I joined the RSPB's David Sexton to track down one of the nests. So this is the spot.
So if you look just down here through the gap into the forestry trees, there's one tree on its own and the nest is about halfway down. Got it?
Yes. Okay, okay.
So those birds that you're looking at are chicks.
No.
They're like 8-9 weeks old now, so they're fully feathered. They're just a week off being fully grown. And it's great to get to this stage because often eagles in the nest, one chick hatches and might kill the sibling. They don't often raise two. But sea eagles do more often than other eagles, and fingers crossed, all being well, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, they'll have made it and they'll take their first flight. And that'll be that, they're on their way. And if you just go at about 11 o'clock from the nest up onto the branch, and there's the adult bird is sitting there.
Yes, yes.
Got it?
Yeah.
Amazing pale head, big yellow beak, and that amazing white tail.
And then those talons are presumably the size of your hands, like.
They are, and
yeah.
it's just phenomenal when you see them up close.
sea eagles are really adaptable. They'd be as happy in the marshes and fens of East Anglia as they are in the mountains and sea lochs of Scotland. So given time and space and a bit of patience, they will start to reoccupy that former range.
To see them in action from myself, I've joined Martin Keevers, who's a bit of an expert when it comes to getting close encounters. All he needs is a few mackerel to lure them in. Martin's just choosing a fish to throw to our eagle in the hope that she'll come and catch it. In she comes. Gosh, she's a magnificently big bird. Wow! That's fantastic, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
You must never get bored of your job.
Never get tired of seeing that ever, no.
So is there a danger that by feeding them we'll change their behaviour?
If you fed them too much, then yes, you probably would do, but we take advice from the RSPB and Scottish National Heritage of an amount that we can give them so they won't change the natural behaviour.
When sea eagles have young to feed, they would naturally be taking up to 8 fish a day. Martin knows this bird well, and this year he has 1 chick on the nest. Do you know that bird?
We've known him for a couple of years now, yeah. He's not the cleanest and smartest dressed eagle in the world, so we've given him the nickname of Compo. But he's a fantastic bird, he's a good dad, he's got a chick this year, and obviously that he's taking that fish back now to feed his youngsters. In fact, we've just got another eagle coming on the back of the boat now.
Is that Compo
our
coming back?
Compo, yeah.
Compo's coming back for more. Compo's not so shabby, actually. He's coming back for seconds.
Going to see if you can give him a fish?
I'd love to. All right, here we go, Compo. Ugh. In he comes, cruising with ease. Yes! That is so cool. I just fed some sea eagle chicks. That is just a great feeling. Absolutely wonderful. These majestic birds have made a great comeback since their reintroduction over 40 years ago. And their future here and across the UK is looking bright. So the sea eagle population here in Mull is actually self-sustaining. And so that means that the wildlife here in Mull is absolutely thriving to be able to sustain a bird like that. This is a truly wild place.
They really are such wonderful birds, and isn't it great to have them back? But you know, we're lucky to live in a place that's got such a varied coastline and has proved inspirational for photographers, and many of you have been sharing your photographs and experience with us at the hashtag #MyWilderness.
Like this view of Arran from Seamill Beach in West Kilbride in Scotland, and this of Chanter's Cave on Ramsey Island in Wales. Or this beauty from the Hebridean island of South Uist.
Now please do keep sharing your wild experiences online with us using the hashtag #MyWilderness. Now Alaska's wilderness is being revealed all this week on BBC One and online. And our crews have been out there travelling huge distances to find the very best wildlife there is on offer. And on tonight's show, we'll be introducing you to the families of orcas and the scientists that are researching them.
To give you a taster, Wild UK have gone behind the scenes to see just how do the crew get such stunning shots of orcas in the wild.
To capture orcas, the Wild Alaska team travelled to Kenai Fords. Their base for this 5-day expedition is the Dora, a fishing and research vessel which the 7-strong team first have to load up with over 25 boxes of high-tech equipment they'll need in order to capture the close-up views of orca they're after. Director Tom Payne explains the plan.
We travelled 26 hours, I think it was yesterday, so 2 flights to get here, a bit of a drive. We had about 5 hours sleep last night, and the plan was to get on the water tomorrow, but the weather's looking a bit dodgy, so we're not sure we're going to make a last-minute call on that. But apparently they're seeing orca, which is what we're here to do, so if we can film the orca, we'll be happy, really.
The team are planning to film using a complicated stabilised camera system to capture the orcas in smooth, slow motion and which cameraman Ted Giffords needs to set up on deck before they can leave harbour. Despite all the hard work, if the weather and sea state don't allow it, the team won't get out at all. And right now, it's the wind that's concerning Captain Mike Britton.
It's a little windy. It's supposed to be blowing like 25 out of the north, which can be challenging in some respects, especially for filming. A little rocky. There'll be spots where we'll have the lee of land, so it's calmer, but it's going to be a little challenging.
Thankfully, so far, the weather is on their side, for now. And with the boat packed and camera ready, the team head out into the Pacific Ocean in search of orca. The team are hoping to make the most of the opportunity of good weather. And it's not long before orca research scientist Dan Olsen has them in his sights.
They have been fishing in general. Right now it's hard to say if they're just traveling to another spot to try fishing again, but there was a chase down here of presumably a salmon as we saw the rooster tailing dorsal fin through the water.
Dan knows these orca well, but even with expert guidance, the team are finding it very difficult to get anything on camera.
So it's just up there, you go, 9 o'clock. One in front's just come up again and gone back down.
There's a guy we've been following recently, never fully comes up. Yeah, no, just get half a fin.
Oh, right here.
There's one directly behind us, Okay, he's staying there behind us.
You see him in the water?
There he is. 9 o'clock.
How annoying, why can you... Frustratingly also, even if I see the fin already, it's too late. I have to have it before the fin breaks the surface. So...
It's not easy, this.
And to top it all off, there's a problem with the high-tech camera.
The camera stopped working. One of the problems is that the camera inside this box gets very hot. But as with most things, the only way to find out is you turn it off and on again.
In the end, the broken camera becomes the least of the team's problems. The next day, the crew are stuck in harbour. The weather has taken a turn for the worse, and the equipment needs extra protection. The following day, the sun is out, and so is the team, in search of orca.
Up. 9 o'clock, 200 yards, 300 yards.
Oh yeah, I got one.
Dan's work involves identifying the individual orcas to help keep a record of their movements, and for that he needs close-up images of their dorsal fins. And that's also what the crew are trying to capture. The conditions may be perfect, but the orcas are still proving a bit tricky.
It's quite hard, this, because you know they're there, but you can't see a thing, and then suddenly pop. They may be sharp, they may be in the frame, they may be on the edge of frame.
Slowly but surely, Ted and the team start to get the shots they were after. Orcas in slow motion, patrolling the seas.
The last couple of days have been a bit of a nightmare. We've enjoyed the experience, but the weather's been awful, the swell's been awful, and now finally we've got a nice weather day and we're actually getting what we came here for, so the satisfaction is huge. Just fingers crossed we can stay with these guys for long enough and maybe their behaviour will change, or maybe we'll see something different. That's the ideal. Who knows?
It's been 5 long days, but the crew and scientist Dan have finally got what they came for.
Now, the perseverance of the orca team really did pay off, and they got some extraordinary footage, didn't they? And there's more of that tonight on BBC One, 8 p.m. on Wild Alaska Live. Now, you don't have to go to Alaska to see orcas, do you, Colin?
No, you don't. They're also found in UK waters, particularly off the northern islands, places like Shetland and Orkney. And earlier in the year, they came much closer than usual and gave the local residents quite a surprise.
This family pod turned up just off the shore and was captured on a mobile phone by diver and photographer Richard Shucksmith. It just goes to show that Britain is a lot wilder than you might think, and to experience it, you just need to get out there and find the wild places near you. But if you need some extra inspiration, then here's our guide to where the wild things are. 40% of the world's population of grey seals breed on Britain's beaches. The end of September to December is the best time to see pups as they take their first swimming lessons, supervised by mum. The Moray Firth, just north of Inverness in Scotland, is home to Britain's largest resident population of bottlenose dolphins, 130 strong. We have 5 species of jellyfish in the UK, and the most often spotted is the moon jellyfish. The southwest seems to be where they are seen the most. Autumn brings more visitors. This breathtaking murmuration of starlings in Aberystwyth has gathered from as far afield as Russia. It's a sight repeated in countless seaside resorts all around the coast. The coast of Northumberland in spring and summer plays host to thousands of seabirds, including the shag. You can follow their breeding behaviour, including the entertaining race to make their nests with a limited supply of resources. Yes, we really do have some of the great seabird spectacles here in the UK, but Alaska's not so shabby, you know. They've got about double the amount of breeding pairs that we have from about the same amount of species, but they are 6 times larger than the UK.
Now, if you want to go and see one of these seabird colonies for yourself, one of the really great ones lies just off the coast of Northumberland. I have always wanted to go there, and I got the opportunity just a couple of weeks ago. Lying off the Northumberland coast are the rugged volcanic rocks of the Farne Islands. Now, thanks to their location in the North Sea, this wild landscape is a haven for seabirds, with over 150,000 nesting here at the height of the breeding season.
I've never been to the Farnes before. I can't wait to get out exploring, but I've been warned to bring a hat.
The first to greet me here are the Arctic terns, and they're not entirely pleased to see me.
The reason they're so aggressive is they're just trying to defend their youngsters. Some of them are in eggs. Some of them have little chicks. They have these beautiful blood-red bills. It's incredibly off-putting, and that's why they do it. I mean, the bites don't really hurt in any way, but when they nest in a colony and they scream and they fly about in your face, they see me as a potential predator. Hello. I'm sorry, we're just passing through. Beautiful creatures. Thousands of them here.
And you don't have to look far to see the nests they're protecting.
If you can stop for a moment and look around, you see that there's lots of nests here. Some of them are still on eggs, some on little chicks, some with big chicks, but they're absolutely everywhere. Very hard to figure out who belongs to who.
With just over 1,500 pairs, the Arctic terns are doing really well here. And they're not the only ones. Puffins are another of the island's most famous residents. They come here to breed, returning to the same underground burrows every year. Jennifer Clark from the National Trust has been monitoring these characterful birds and checking the progress of their youngsters.
Are you feeling anything?
Oh,
you got something?
Oh, I just felt a warm body. Hello. I got it.
What have we got? There we go, there's a puffling. Well done. That's great. So we'll just pop its wings in. That's quite a big one, that one. So that one's maybe got another week or two before it's going to leave the burrow. It's still very fluffy. They can't go into the sea whilst they're fluffy like this because the downy feathers will become waterlogged. So it needs to wait till it loses all that down.
How long does it take them from egg to leaving?
So it's as an egg for 40 days, and then it's a chick in the burrow for 40 days before it leaves, and it'll leave under the cover of darkness because it's much safer to do that. It's less likely to get attacked by gulls and it'll go straight into the water, straight out to sea, and that'll be them until they're ready to breed in a few years' time, and they'll come back to land again.
What is it being fed on?
It's being fed on sand eels, and you'll see puffins with their beaks jam-packed full of sand eels, and they have to run a bit of a gauntlet through these black-headed gulls because they will try and steal them off them before they get to the burrow. So I'll let you put this little one back in the burrow.
And you see, that's the sea out there. That's where you're going to spend the rest of your life. Yeah.
The Farnes are home to an incredible 80,000 puffins. Like other seabirds here, they've been thriving thanks to the conservation efforts of the National Trust, which manages these wild islands. With so many birds, the rocks are often jam-packed and nesting sites are at a premium.
It's like a little city of guillemots here. They really live cheek by jowl, and I think they're one of the tiniest territories in the bird world, because really, when you think about it, it's just where they lay their egg. That's the little bit of Mother Earth that they defend. They all seem to get on somehow. It's really a stunningly beautiful place here. Tens of thousands of puffins, kittiwakes, guillemots, fulmar, all living out their lives here. I think in many ways seabird colonies are our wildest places.
It was great to get to the Farne Islands at last. It's a place I'd always wanted to get to, but the one thing you don't notice on television, of course, is how bad they smell. The place is full of guano, and the smell of that, I can still smell it now.
I can smell it on you, actually, Colin, if I'm honest.
But I reckon seabird colonies are about the closest thing that we've got to the Serengeti. You know, that real sense of wildlife all around you.
It did look fantastically wild, I have to say, but the sad thing is that although these are spectacular wild places, man is having an impact. And some seabird colonies you'll find now, nests are being built with bits of plastic where birds have mistaken those for seaweed. On the island of Grassholm off West Wales, for instance, the nesting gannet population is really suffering the effects of plastic pollution, and volunteers regularly save over 50 birds a year.
Yeah, it's shocking, really. And there's been a study that was published fairly recently that said that perhaps 90% of the seabirds in the world now contain plastic in their stomachs. So what can we do about it? And that's you and I. Well, use less plastic. Try and avoid it at all costs whenever possible. And if you find it, try and dispose of it properly.
And plastic pollution isn't just a problem for our shorelines and wild spaces above the waves, as the one shows Miranda Kristovnikov discovered in 2013 when she headed to Pembrokeshire.
The Pembrokeshire coast is the only coastal national park in the UK, reflecting the importance and beauty of this area above the waves.
And life below the waves here is just as stunning. In 2004, around 1,400 square kilometres of sea off this coastline was designated a special area of conservation. Yet, just because it's highly protected by law, it doesn't mean the underwater world's out of harm's way.
A national beach clean-up held in 2012 showed that the amount of litter on our shores had increased by 15% in just 1 year.
And that rubbish can easily make its way from our beaches into the marine environment, where the problem becomes much less visible.
Out of sight is often out of mind, but not for Neptune's Army, Britain's only dedicated marine rubbish collecting team. Their mission, to keep the underwater world pristine. Davy Jones has been volunteering with them for 5 years.
Lawnmower, shopping trolleys, they turn up quite regularly. Plastic bottles, rod tips,
loads of lead
cans,
weights.
Loads of lead weights, yeah. I think our record is 730 in one dive.
No way.
Satellite dishes, computers, a whole range of things that you wouldn't expect to find in the sea. Everything including the kitchen sink, yeah.
And where's that coming from then?
Sadly, I think this sort of stuff is probably fly-tipped. Yeah, I think people would probably find it easier to throw things in the sea, perhaps, than go to their local tip, which is a bit of a shame.
And today I'm joining in with the clean-up. My dive buddy is Dave Kennard, the man who brought this cleaning army together.
Well, the group's been running since 2005, and it always amazes us how much we keep coming back and finding.
The site we've come to today hasn't been dived by Neptune's army yet this year. We're armed with a collecting crate because Dave is expecting plenty of rubbish.
A very pretty dive site. Beautiful. Oh, I love this sort of diving where you feel you've entered this underwater kingdom. The walls are encrusted with all sorts of sea life.
Today's not a pleasure dive though, and it doesn't take long before we find what we're looking for.
Oh look Dave, I bet you find a lot of that sort of stuff, don't you? Line and weights and hooks and everything. Just a fishing weight lying here, metres and metres of it. Look at that, one more for the bag.
It's staggering just how much broken fishing line we're finding. And it doesn't just look unsightly, it can be really damaging too.
And just imagine if you're a crab, a spider crab with all those little spiky edges, and you're walking along the rocks and you just meet one of those. Ow! Ow, 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 ow!
This footage, shot by Neptune's army, shows that much of the clean-up divers' time is spent untangling animals caught in old fishing equipment. And lots of the rubbish they find can leak poisonous chemicals which can kill wildlife.
It's astonishing, all that rubbish off the seabed.
Time to send today's haul to the surface so the boat can pick it up.
I was quite depressed, actually. I mean, I was quite pleased with what we were doing. We were doing a really important job as divers. I thought there was a real purpose to our dive, but this made me feel quite upset, really.
There's lots more out there to be cleaned, sadly.
Just go out there and you see a bit of rubbish, just pick it up.
You have an impact straight away, really. On one dive, now you feel like you've made a difference.
Experiences like this remind me of just how critical volunteers are to wildlife conservation. These guys may be the only dedicated team of marine rubbish collectors in Britain, but I hope through their work they'll inspire more people to get involved. Our seas certainly need it.
They really do. But the good thing is that particular team have completed over 100 dives now on the Pembrokeshire coast, and they're on an awareness-raising mission.
And you know, that really is the most important thing, because the fundamental answer to this problem really is to stop plastic getting into our oceans in the first place.
Tomorrow on Wild UK, we turn our attention to mountains and the wildlife that makes our highlands their home. Colin discovers the secret past of Snowdonia.
Really feels very isolated, and I've just realised that I can't see another living soul.
Lucy encounters the king of corvids, the raven. And on a remote island in the sea, we go behind the scenes with the Wild Alaska team. As they say, they are the wolves. You can keep up with all the latest news from the Wild Alaska team online all this week. And don't forget to tune in tonight at BBC One at 8 p.m. for all the latest wild happenings from Alaska.
And join us again tomorrow, BBC One, 9:15 a.m. for more Wild UK, because the UK is wilder than you think.
Yes, make sure you're with BBC One tonight at 8 for Wild Alaska Live, and we've got more on